Good morning. Now let's start our talk show episode 77. The only things that stand between you and your dream is the will to try and believe that is actually possible. It's a beautiful quote quoted by Joel Brown. So, with this quote, I would like to bring our talk show named Conversation with Consultants with episode 77 of our guest talk series. Good morning, everyone. I am Rima Kumari, ECR coordinator of SKNG, and I am your host for today's talk show. Before we begin our talk show, let me briefly introduce SK Associates and Group. We are an ISO certified management consulting firm registered under the MSMED Act 2006 with the Government of India. Our mission is to providing consulting service to student entrepreneurs globally, covering such as area compliance, operations, marketing, research and development, human capital, strategic, and operations. Our passion lies in helping these budding entrepreneurs bringing their dreams to life and contribute to global economics growth. Entrepreneurship is a catalyst and change and innovation. It's a powerful force that can reshape industries, transforms lives, and make the world a better place. We are committed to supporting students, entrepreneurs on their journey, equipping them with the tools, knowledge, and network they need to succeed. Now, before I begin our show, let's take a moment to introduce our guest for today. It gives us immense pleasure to welcome Mr. Shravan Shetty, Head Training and Development Greycaps, to this special event. We are truly honored by your presence today and we are delighted to have you here in this talk show to share your insight with us. We would like to start this interview with our first question for you. What does poverty means in business?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Rima. Thank you for having me on your talk show. I think over the years, whether I was building a nonprofit from scratch, coaching young professionals trying to find their footing, or working with schools and organizations, even right now through Greycaps, when we work with companies, I've realized something fundamental about growth, right? I'm just setting the context, no career, no startup, no organization, no person. The journey is ever in a straight line. It's not linear, for sure. So when we're at the crossroads, the first thing that comes to us is, pivoting. And when we look at the word pivot, to me, it's not about changing your mind on a bad day. It's not random. It's a very deliberate, informed shift in business that you make when reality is telling you that for an organization and business, the current path is not leading to the impact that we have envisioned. It could be that we're doing an annual review, it could be a quarterly review. It's important that when we pivot, we do it based on data and not just on gut instinct. So I think pivoting to me, it's very deliberate, informed shift that we make when reality tells us the current path won't lead to the impact we vision. It's not about giving up. It's about honoring the mission by choosing just a better route to achieve it. Optimal path as such. As a management consulting company, I'm sure with a lot of clients, you are advising the same as to when they should pivot as well, right? So I hope that answers your first question.
Yeah, it's nice. Moving with the next question, what does peace serving means in business?
So I think persevering, on the other hand, is about staying committed because the fundamentals of business are, what it is. It is the quiet discipline that we need to continue to go on that particular path, even when progress is slow. Sometimes the cyclic market conditions might make us think that we should give up. It's not necessary to pivot every time there is an obstacle in a path. We need to, persevere. Maybe sometimes we need to slow down, take, deliberate steps, but it's important to stay on the path and, to ensure that the signals and the people are right, our values and ethics are right, so that when we're persevering, we're getting the results that we want. But also, we need to ensure that we're not doing fundamentally anything wrong. So, perseverance is not being stubborn like a bull, going into a shop of ceramics, and breaking down everything because we have to persevere. it needs to be, very deliberate and systematic, in my opinion. So which means that even if the impact is visible, uh, we should, look at, moving forward with momentum, deciding when to increase the pace while persevering and when to slow down. That's what I would say. It's possible with refinement. Yeah.
Great. The next question is, how does you know when to forward your startup?
So I think from my non-profit experience and working with companies, in the training and consulting space, even with Fortune 500 companies, we know it is time to pivot when our effort is very, very high, but meaningful outcomes are, stagnating. It's stopping. But data and feedback that we are getting, along with intuition, is pointing us to the same conclusion that this version won't scale impact. That's exactly when we should, pivot our startup, because we have data with us that what we've been trying so far is not working. So persevering is not working. So let's pivot now. So I think that's when we know that we have to pivot our startup.
It is nice. Your next question is, what are signs that your product is not working?
So I think if the target audience isn't engaging without constant pushing, that's a sign. If our stakeholders are saying that things are not really working for us, right? The benefits are not coming through what we had promised. So I think that's also a sign that people are benefiting but are not returning back to our product or the services that we offer. Or we are spending a lot of time explaining the value on why our product is good, why you should take it up, but still people are not getting the benefits, right? So there definitely is, like, these aspects are not in sync, and this is a clear sign for us that the product is not doing its job.
Moving with the next question, it's poverty a sign of failure?
I don't think so, not at all. In my coaching sessions, I tell people pivoting is a responsibility that we owe ourselves and the people whom we work with, whether it's our customers or our internal stakeholders. When we know that hard work isn't working. So I think the best example that I would give that everyone would relate to is the story of two woodcutters, right? We know since childhood that we have heard the story about one woodcutter who's working from day to night and keeps hitting the tree. But after some time, the productivity goes on. He's working hard. He's not being lazy. He's putting in the effort. But then on the other hand, we have another woodcutter where she is basically sharpening the axe and then she's going down, cutting down, the wood, right? She's far more productive. So we have a fine example of two people who are persevering, but one person is pivoting and realizing that, using a blunt approach is not working. It's time to change the approach. So I think if we don't pivot when we have evidence, it's like we are very willingly, turning blind eye to the evidence, and that is leading to failure.
Nice. Your next question is, how do you know decided when to persevering with your idea?
So, so I think it's important that you persevere when you keep hearing genuine appreciation from the people you serve. When your work is creating visible movement in the direction that all of us agree is the right direction, even small, uh, and you know that there is substance to stay with it, right? So I think that's when we should definitely decide to persevere with the idea, and not just keep pivoting.
Great. Your next question is poverty a sign of failure?
I don't think so, because usually when we tell people that pivoting is responsibility, so I think it's very important to not see it as a sign of failure and to keep moving ahead, right? So
Moving with the next question, how do you how do you assess with the problems is the product or the market?
So I think it's a good question that you're asking, Rima, is like, how do we assess if the problem is the product or the market? I believe if people like the idea but struggle to use it or understand it, it's a product issue. If people simplify and tell themselves that they don't have the problem that we are solving, then it's a market issue. So, which primarily means that if we have a product, there is a need in the product, but the product is not doing what it is doing, then it's definitely product issue, right? But if we find that we have a product, but it's not solving any problem, then the market doesn't need the product. So it's definitely a market issue. I've learned the hard way that clarity in terms of whether you have a product issue or a market issue can save months of confusion and can save a lot of money also. So I hope that answers the question.
Nice. Moving with the next question. Do you need to data to decide on pivoting?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think we need data to decide on pivoting. I've seen too many founders of startups pivot out of frustration instead of insight. Uh, Data, whether it's quantitative data, which is hard data that we have, or qualitative, where people are giving us feedback, that is the compass with which we need to, you know, pursue a certain sense of direction on deciding on pivoting, because pivoting also requires you to put in more money, put in more resources, because you're changing track, right? So I think definitely we need to go with data.
Great. Your next question is, how do you manage customers during a pivot?
So I think it's important to talk to customers, engage with them, be very honest, communicate early the bad news, and assure them that the change that you're bringing is for their own benefit. uh, in training and development, we believe that trust is everything. In consulting, also, when we are telling our clients that, hey, this approach isn't working, and we are telling them how it will benefit them if we change our approach, and they can see, more benefits coming their way with either the features of the product or how the service delivery and the implementation is going to be different from the earlier path that we were taking. So I think transparency and trust is very, very important in ensuring that we manage customers during this pivot.
Great. Your next question is, what's the difference between a pivot and a complete restart?
So I think pivot is keeping your mission intact. A restart means that everything rechanges, right? So most good teams will pivot. Only a few need to restart. To give you an example, let us say that we are going from a particular city. Let's say we're going from Bangalore to Delhi, right? And we have decided the route is to take go by train, and we find that we get onto the train and there are obstacles, right? Now you're still deciding to go to, the destination. But instead of taking the train, you might decide to take bus, you might decide to take road transport, or, airlines to head in that direction. A restart would be that you're changing your journey completely, right? Which means that, in simplistic terms, I might be going to a different geographic location. So I might have decided that this product which I've created, instead of using it for schools, I will use it for colleges. So that's like a minor pivot. But if I'm going to say that I'm going to take this product, which I have, which is an ERP product, and I was focusing on the school or education market, and now I'm going to say that, hey, I think ports are being built in Gujarat. Let's look at shipping companies. That's a complete restart, right? So, so I think this would give you a very good comparison in terms of the analogies on what's a pivot and what's a complete restart.
Nice. Your next question is, how do you involve your team in a pivot decision?
So see, in the companies that I've worked with, whether it's when I was working in non-profit with the United Nations on a UNDP project, when I was working with the Head Eye Foundation and different stakeholders, or it's at Greycaps currently where I'm working with the organization, which I've worked in different capacities. So I work with a lot of Fortune 500 companies also. So I think it's important that when we involve the team, we are sharing the why openly. Why are we doing this? Why are we changing direction? Why are we not persevering? We have to, explain the reasons so that we get the buy-in of the team. We should be open enough to invite perspectives. Now, there is a possibility that we might have overlooked in all of our wisdom the reasons why we are pivoting, right? So you might find that somebody else comes up with some data or information saying, let's give it another 30 days, 45 days. So even if you feel sometimes that this request from the team to persevere has come in, we shouldn't ignore it. We should, try and negotiate and see, okay, probably we don't have enough money to do this, persevere in the same direction, for another 3 months. What we can do is let's see if we can do it for another 20 days or 30 days. If we get more data, we can decide to stick to the same, direction. Otherwise, we absolutely have to pivot because sometimes the startups, you've got investors, you've got distributors, suppliers, others in the ecosystem. And if you are going to be moving forward, you need to ensure both your internal team and the external stakeholders are all in sync. So it's very important that we co-own the experiments. When people understand the purpose, I think alignment becomes very natural, Rima. So I think that's how I would involve any team that I'm working in a pivot decision.
Okay, your next question is, how do you manage customers during a pivot?
I think be honest, communicate early, assure them that the change is for their benefit. Uh, as I've mentioned earlier, it's important to win their trust, keep them informed at every stage. Transparency will preserve the relationship. So that would be the best way to manage customers during a pivot.
Okay, moving ahead with next question, how much changes is considered a pivot?
So I think a pivot is substantial enough to change outcomes, but not so radical that you become unrecognizable. You adjust a pillar, right? When you want to pivot, you don't change the entire building, don't bring down the building. So I think it's very important that you are starting with the small changes first, getting people involved, and then going in for a larger pivot. Even if you have a larger pivot planned, you should start with small incremental changes so that people can see, it's not shaking up the building, right? These are minor interior design changes sometimes or structural changes, but we need to do it one pillar at a time.
Nice. Your next question is, what are common reasons startups pivot?
So, in my observation, necessity is the mother of invention. So, in most cases, startups pivot because the audience isn't responding, the economics don't work in terms of business sense. Someone else is doing it cheaper or better, and that's putting pressure. And people are saying, "अगर वो कर रहे आप क्यों नहीं कर सकते?" So it becomes very important for you to be able to showcase the showcase as to how you can also meet them, on points of parity in terms of cost and other stuff. Specifically, if it is there is data available that it can be done cheaper or better, we can't hide behind saying our quality is better. uh, it could the other reasons could also be that there's a new opportunity which is appearing, and it makes sense for us to grab that opportunity and leverage it with the resources that we have. That's why we are doing it. Or we recognize that the original problem that we were solving and what we had as a solution isn't deep enough, and that's the reason why we have to pivot. So these would be the reasons, Reema.
It sounds good. Moving with the next question, how do you balance risk when considering a pivot? I think I sorry. Your next question is, should you pivot based on the piece of feedback?
So I believe that uh, you should not be pivoting on the basis of one point of feedback. One voice is just an opinion. It's important for us to have enough of data to see a repetitive pattern, to know that what we are persevering on isn't working and only pivot. If we do it, in that manner, it's kind of like building a house, Rima. You start building your house, and then somebody comes in, 10, 20 people come in. And if they're giving 10, 20 suggestions where all of them are saying that, a particular window isn't good enough and you change it, it makes sense. But if just one person comes in and tells you on one day that the window isn't right, somebody else comes and tells you the elevation isn't right, and different people are giving you different feedback, right? And you don't know whether somebody's selling this out of experience. Is this a paying customer? Is this somebody who's just casually talking? Because when we're running a business, there are a lot of resources at stake. We have investors and people watching us in the market. So we definitely should not pivot on the basis of just one piece of feedback.
Nice. Moving with the next question. How do you test a new direction before fully pivoting?
That's an interesting question, Rima. I would favor lightweight tests, prototypes, pilot workshops, sample audiences, checking their responses. I believe that you definitely learn more from a 10-day experiment than a 10-month assumption, right? So it's important for us to incrementally test through lightweight tests, as I said. Just to repeat again for the audience's clarity, I think it's important to do product prototypes, do pilot workshops with stakeholders and sample audiences. So very, very important to experiment.
Great. Your next question is, what role does customer feedback play in pivoting?
So I think, every day when we get up in the morning and we're getting to go outside, uh, through habit we might have dressed up, we might have done the usual in applying, like, sun cream or doing our makeup, whatever it takes us to feel ready for the outside world. But also we also have made it a habit of checking in the mirror, right? So I think it's important for us to look at customer feedback as the mirror to whatever we are doing, because then people will tell you, what's working, what's not working, and what they actually need, and not what you assume that they need. So I think it's important to allocate that priority to customer feedback. Customer feedback is very, very important. And in sales and consulting, we say feedback is the breakfast of champion companies, right? So when they give us feedback on a daily basis, we accept it. We're all growing. So it's important to give customers, that priority.
Nice. Moving with the next question, how do you communicate a pivot to investors?
I believe in my experience of working with investors, where I have been part of startups, I've been with companies where investors have been involved. uh, I have found that what investors always need is clarity. They need clarity on bad news. Ideally, they shouldn't come and tell you that you're doing this wrong, right? You should be going to them and telling them, hey, we want to give you clarity that this is what we had visualized as a market fit is not happening. The product fit is not going right. So we should communicate the bad news. We should provide clarity to the investors. As the American humorist Will Rogers, the stand-up comedian, the well-known humorist said, all of us are not so bothered about the return on our investment. We are bothered about the return of the investment. So tomorrow, if you go and put your money in a bank, it's okay if the bank comes and tells you, Rima, I can't give you 5% interest, I'll give you 3% interest, but I'll give you your money back, right? So it's important for investors to know that their money is safe with what they've invested with you, and you're giving them clarity. You show them the data, the learning, the new direction with confidence. They don't want perfection, right? They want awareness and they want leadership from you as somebody who's leading the startup or the organization. So definitely, absolutely, I think clarity is the foundation of the communication of a pivot to investors.
Nice. Our next question is pivoting more common in early stage startups?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that's a question which answers the question itself. Absolutely, I think early stages are about finding fit, and it's not about not it's not about just sticking and trying to say, hey, my idea is perfect, my child is perfect, and you try to hide the flaws, right? Then definitely that child, when it grows up, will not be very disciplined, will not be able to adjust to the real world. So it's very, very important for us to bring in discipline or bring in experimentation and pivoting in early stage startups. Definitely, as we are following fiscal fit discipline, it's important for us to definitely pivot when it's early stage startup.
Nice. Your next question is, can pivoting too late hurt a startup?
So I think pivoting late can also, create a kind of a problem, because if you pivot very late, then probably your changes that you're bringing to your market fit or product fit, or whatever alignment you're doing, is a little too late, right? So it's important for us to use data to decide when it's like a late pivot, even more so because a lot of resources have gone in, and we're answerable to what resources we've already used up.
Nice. Your next question is, how do you stay motivated when pace suffering is tough?
So I think I would return to the impact stories of people who have benefited, because purpose fuels perseverance and data guides it. So I think this is how, I would, try and stay motivated when persevering is tough. Yes.
Okay. Your next question is, can pace suffering too long hurt a startup?
So can you repeat the question, Rima? Uh,
Can pace suffering too long hurt a startup?
so I think absolutely. I think when you're being stubborn, right? Whether let's visualize a marriage, right? You're getting feedback from your spouse that things are not working well in the relationship, and the person is very specifically telling you, your wife is telling you that you don't listen to me, you don't listen to what I say, you still continue to do what you're doing, right? After one day, 5 weeks, 10 months, 10 years, there is a certain point which is like a breakup point where the pattern is repeating. And you're just saying, I'm working hard, but you're not taking that data and changing your behavior. So then, definitely, just like it can show up as trouble in a marriage, it's important for you to recognize that persevering is not really, helping you. Uh, you're getting into sunk cost trap. Another example that I can give, Rima, is you go to watch a movie. The movie is bad, right? You realize that in the first 30 minutes. You also have another opportunity in the intermission. Now you've gone halfway of the movie. Now, if you decide to stay with the bad movie, then your entire experience is not going to be great. Specifically, if you are thinking, I paid for this movie ticket, I will watch through 3 years, but even if it's bad, right? Then we're getting stuck in the sunk cost. And if you watch 10 bad movies in 3 months, your attitude will be really bad, right? If you didn't leave when you know that the movie is going bad. So I think it's also important for us to, ensure that if the market isn't responding, delay only increases the eventual pain of changing your approach. And nobody will trust you. So it's important for you to not persevere too long. You need to show your stakeholders that you are reading the market and you're changing your approach when it's required as a business decision.
It sounds good. Your next question is, how do you define success when pivoting?
So I think before that, I just want to, just circle back and connect the dots. So just like, when we say persevering too long can hurt a startup, pivoting too late will also, hurt a startup, because late pivots require you to have more funds, additional resources, which means that when you ask people for money, investors don't believe in you. Morale is low of your own employees, and relevance also, is lesser because people say, "Kuch bhi nahi ho sakta." We've already, persevered for too long. People will start leaving the organization. So I think it's important to act early, whether you're persevering or pivoting when you're changing your approaches. Just to round that up. So to come to your question, I think your question is how do you define success when pivoting, right? So I think success is clarity, success is alignment, and success is improved traction. You need to get that momentum. A good pivot will feel that you're in a place where there is a lot of mist and fog, and as you're moving ahead, you can see that the mist is clearing, the confusion is clearing, your wipers are working well, you're able to see through the rain and the mist and the fog. Everything is clearing up, and you can see that you are achieving success when you're pivoting. So I think clarity, alignment, and improved traction, that's very, very important.
Great. Your next question is, how does company vision impact pivot versus persevering decisions?
So, how does company vision impact pivot versus persevere decisions? That's like a really very, very crucial question that you brought up. So, I think that vision is definitely non negotiable. The moves that you bring in should support the vision. If a pivot is not going in alignment with your vision, then it's not a pivot. It's a new company, it's a new restart, right? So, I think it's very, very important to have clarity about the vision and ensure that whatever you're doing is in aligning to that vision. We've also seen in recent times, Rima, after we saw the Byju's situation where a lot of money was burnt up, we have startups now who, if they feel the money that they've taken, they're not able to persevere or pivot in alignment with that particular vision, they have actually been very, very honest to investors and said, the money in the bank, I think we are not with the current vision, this is not moving forward. They return the money to investors. So the founders become people who are seen as very responsible people. So the next time they go back to investors and say, I have a great new idea or a new product, they're more respected, right? Because the investors know that these founders will pivot to the vision that they present, the vision that got these investors, customers, everybody to buy in, and they're still continuing with that same vision, right? It's important for us to see that. And I also want to bring an additional point when we are talking about pivoting and persevering. A lot of times it can also happen in tandem. To give you an example, in the quick commerce space, today we are seeing Zepto, we are seeing Blinkit, we are seeing Zomato, Swiggy, right? We have seen that an organization which was the earlier avatar of Blinkit, they did not do very well in terms of quick commerce, shopping in terms of getting vegetables, getting other things to your house. However, when Zomato acquired Blinkit, they changed it around, right? But Zomato did not say, hey, now I'm going to completely leave what I was doing in terms of food delivery and, get only into this space. You can also see a market difference in terms of the way people are trying to de-risk, right? You see, Zomato keeps Zomato and Blinkit as names separate. Swiggy, on the other hand, does the same thing, but everything is Swiggy. They call it Swiggy Bolt, they will call it the fast delivery, but there will always be the Swiggy Go branding, right? Because they want to show their investors that, hey, it's the same company. But Zomato specifically is trying to make it look like it's two different entities. Some of us know it's the same. At the same time, you can also see organizations like Zepto, which are newer players in the quick commerce field. They have, been getting additional funding, but they've been reducing their overall staff and focusing more on their ground staff and ensuring, a wider network. So you can see a lot of pivoting and persevering in this market segment alone, right? So you have a lot of other players also. You've seen that Dunzo has gone down, uh, almost shut down or shut down. But you've also seen Porter, continuing to persevere and pivot from having larger trucks to really, a small delivery in terms of getting your packages across, right? So I think with these two mobility, business examples, we can see company vision and pivoting and persevering. Also, I'm sure the audience will have a little more clarity, and they can also figure out other examples that they can see in everyday life.
Nice. Moving with the next question. Do you need a clear why before pivoting?
100%, 100%. We definitely need a clear why before pivoting, because without a why, we are being very emotional. When we were growing up, there was this advertisement, where there was a product related to teenagers. They say, ये emotions भी कितने stupid होते हैं, logic की बात नहीं सुनते, right? So, it's very very important that we have a clear why and we're taking a decision based on data and not a decision based on emotions, right? Because as human beings, we can be very very emotional, but money and what follows in terms of a market standing reputation, it requires us to be emotional and passionate about the work that we do, but it's important that we are leading with insight. So definitely we need a clear why before we pivot.
Great. Your next question is, how would you define yourself as a leader?
So I would, see myself as a leader who, while managing myself, I would, focus on using more data while dealing with myself and logic. But I think it's very, very important to be empathetic with the people that you work with and understand that what challenges you go through on your personal side, even people have, other diverse challenges. So I think it's very important to consistently remind myself as a leader that I should not be judgmental. Even though how much ever we try as human beings, we continue to be judgmental. So we need to be open for feedback. And a lot of times in the moment, we can take a lot of judgmental decisions. But when people push back or we have data, I think a leader shouldn't hesitate to go down on the ground, roll up their sleeves, and apologize if they've done something wrong and work with the team. I don't think a leader is above his or her people or their people. It's important that a leader sees uh, sees him or herself as part of the team and be available to the team all along. So I think it's co-leadership and it's not. I think that's my style. That's how I would define, the way I function as a leader. So I think it's important for me also to acknowledge that in my own role, I'm pivoting and persevering, right? I also need to decide when I'm persevering with somebody in the team, when I need to take a tough decision because that person, in terms of their values and ethics, might be impacting the rest of the team. But sometimes you might also have to stand against the team with a certain individual because the person is right. The person might be the youngest member on the team. She might be the youngest member, but she's making a very important point. And I think we should keep ego and pride outside the door if you really want to be a good leader.
It sounds good. Your next question is, explain how to schedule your day for success.
So I think, in terms of scheduling the day for success, it's important to visualize what work you need to get done, not just on a daily basis to begin with. You need to start in terms of looking at the annual plan of what you want to achieve, breaking it down into like two sets of 6 months, then breaking down further into quarters, and also look at it from when you want to schedule your day. You look at it what you want to achieve in a week, because whether it is for you or for your team, it is important to understand that there will be certain firefighting crises that we will face. People will not cooperate. Rima, for example, I want to acknowledge your patience here in terms of persevering with me. When you first reached out to me a few weeks ago, I was busy, but you persevered with me in terms of trying to figure out how to align this talk with my schedule, right? So I think it's important to see the blocks of time as weekly blocks in terms of the tasks that we get done, so that we plan and schedule our day right from the first thing in the morning. So I try to ensure that the previous day I make a list of what I want to achieve in the week ahead. what I haven't been able to achieve in the past few days or that particular day, and then try and knock off what's really very, very important first thing in the morning, because that's where our focus is the best. Make the important phone calls right in the first part of the day. That's when people have the highest energy, and leave the job of answering, emails and other things a little later in the day during lunchtime, because or pre-lunch or post-lunch, because that gives you like sufficient time to think through and do it. So I think that's how I would schedule my day. Look at the tasks that I need to do, projects I need to focus on and move on a weekly basis. Break it down to see what are the most important things that need my attention and focus. Knock them off early in the morning, and then get on to other things. I think people interaction is what I would like to focus on, important meetings in the first half of the day, and then get into stuff which doesn't require people. And definitely don't hold internal meetings post lunch because people are very sleepy. And don't hold it too close to before lunch because people do get hungry, right? So I think it's important to schedule these meetings, at appropriate times.
Yeah, great. Um, your next question is, what has been your biggest failure and what did you learn from it?
So I think my biggest failure has been there have been a lot of failures. I, every time I think that this is my biggest failure, God above surprises me by, ensuring that I have another failure. So I think failures and setbacks are, a part of everyday life as such. And I think my learning is to look at setbacks as opportunities for comebacks, right? And to see how I can begin again more intelligently. It's also response check how I need to be more emotionally mature. Now I'm 45, right? But sometimes I can behave like a 5 year old or a 4 year old kid in terms of the way I can get emotional because somebody said something very sensitive, right? I take myself too seriously. So I think one of the things that I've tried to do is constantly check in my ego and see how I can be a better person, and try my best when feedback is given to me to not make either failure or success all about me. So it's important that I do not see the project failure as a failure of my leadership, and it's also important for me not to blame others. But when there is successes there, I should have the humility to showcase gratitude, and ensure that other people get the credit. But when there is failure, I think I should be in the line of fire and accept it, because that's the only way I can learn to ensure that the next time around the pattern repeats. I can win that round.
Nice. Uh, moving with the next question, you need to break the rules if you want to success. Do you agree with this statement?
So I think it's important to see whether when we are breaking the rules, is it like a just a emotional response to break the rule? Is there enough data to showcase to us that it's time for us to break the rules, right? It's like if you decide to launch a rocket and fly against gravity, you need to understand how gravity works also. So I would, definitely look to break rules if it is required for me to. But first, I would see if following the rules itself has given me everything that I need, right? And breaking the rules is the step that I'm taking because following the rules didn't really give me the benefits or give the team or the organization the benefits. And I think I would not break the rules if it's ethically or morally, not appropriate for others to be harmed in any way. So when we are saying breaking the rules, if we are doing it in a different way compared to how it's been done, yes, experimenting, innovation, doing things differently, yes, but not at the cost of people, harm to people or to society or to anybody in the ecosystem.
Great. Your next question is, what do you believe are the three qualities that make or can make someone be a star in any field that he or she chooses?
So I think the person needs to be good at managing situations, which means presence of mind and immediately responding with a certain measure of maturity. Second is, I think, attitude is very, very important in terms of ensuring that you are responsive in a particular way, which is attitude towards life and work. Be willing to not always look at what is your agenda and how it meets your agenda. If you're able to look at the larger picture, the bigger picture, you can definitely uh, be a star, right? Because at the end of the day, a star is somebody who can manage any situation when it's a crisis, who can do the day-to-day tasks with discipline, and has the aptitude to keep on evolving themselves and to be result oriented. So I think these are the three or four qualities that are required for us to be stars, right? Accept feedback and keep on improvising, keep on getting better.
That sounds good. This is your last question for today's session. What's one lesson you have learned about pivoting or persevering?
So I think that the biggest lesson is in my own life's journey. Startups and people both grow when they respond to reality faster than they react to uncertainty. We have to pivot when evidence demands it, and we have to persevere when there is enough meaning and purpose that supports it. So I think this is in a very crisp sense uh, the lessons that I've learned about pivoting versus persevering. Just to repeat it, I think you should pivot when evidence demands it, persevere when there is meaning, clarity, and people are saying that there is a market fit and a product fit. And you just need to stay there, stay on ground and persevere with your customers and market, continue to provide quality.
It sounds good. Moving ahead, we would like to express our sincere gratitude, Mr. Shravan Shetty, for being our guest for today's conversation with consultants. Your presence and engagement helped to make this event successful. Thank you for providing insights into your exciting journey. Further, we would also like to thank our audience for listening patiently throughout the event. Thank you everyone for joining with us and today hope that everyone gains some knowledge from this event. Looking ahead, we are excited to announce that our next episode 78 of Conversation with Consultants will be held soon. We hope to see you all there. Thank you and we look forward reconnecting with you again.
Thank you, Rima, and thanks to your organization for having me on your uh, platform to bring me on board as an expert. Uh, Thank you, audience, for listening in on this conversation. I think the questions were structured very, very well. It gave me a lot of food for thought in terms of revisiting my own experience in the multiple facets that I work as a consultant, trainer, and coach. Uh, Kudos to the organization, your organization, for curating such a interesting series of talk shows. Wish you all the best.
Thank you, sir. And do s- moving ahead, do subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us all social media handles to stay connected with us. Goodbye and have a great day ahead. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Rima. Thanks to your PR team as well. Bye. Thank you.